What if the Dead Sea Scrolls didn't just preserve ancient writings, but actually predicted the exact century the Messiah would arrive? The Qumran community used a secret 364-day calendar tied to the stars, the priesthood, and prophecy. And when you follow their calculation, everything points to one narrow moment in history. Let me show you how. Hi, this is Mark Bates. This is part of the Rabbit Room Apologetics channel. And today's topic is the Dead Sea Scrolls calendar and the Messiah's arrival. Okay? So, what we're going to do here is we're going to look at what the Dead Sea community had for a calendar. It was different from what the Pharisees and what the Sadducees had. And we'll see if that gives us just another small piece of evidence for our theory that Christ was born actually on Yom Teruah, right, in 3 BC. So, we're going to take a Second Temple period interpretation of calendrical expectation, prophecy, and astronomical science. That's a mouthful. Okay, here we go. So the Qumran calendar, it was a distinctive solar system of time. The Qumran community preserved a 364-day solar calendar, radically different from the lunar or lunisolar, right, calendars used by the Jerusalem priesthood and wider Jewish society. This calendar appears in multiple of the Dead Sea Scrolls. For example, 4Q320, that's right, 4Q324 and 4QMMT. Now the 4 tells us which cave it came from, Q is Qumran, and the number tells us which jar it came from, right, essentially, or which group of scrolls it was from. And so these are well known, these are well documented scrolls now that we have access to, which, once again, we didn't have access to these until late in the 20th century. Okay, so several features make these things unique. Their 364-day structure divided into 52 weeks, ensuring every festival fell on the same day of the week every year. There is some suggestion, by the way, that there were multiple calendars in the Second Temple period, especially for Israel, and that there are some that would, because using the lunar calendar and the astronomical and the agricultural adaptations to that, there was some flexibility on days. And so to make sure that a festival never fell, for example, like on a Friday night, there would be small changes that would change and move the date for the festival to the Thursday beforehand. Okay? So this is one of the reasons why potentially Good Friday actually occurred on Thursday. Okay? It's not that big of a deal either way, but there are people who talk about that, and there are reasons for that. And the Qumranis would have been one of the reasons why, okay, that these guys built their calendar specifically around the solar time frame, and they made sure that all their festivals fell on the same day of every week. Their calendar provided astronomical precision. The calendar was tightly tied to the movements of the sun, stars, and seasons. And these guys were not, doing astrology, right? They were doing astronomy. They were using the stars, as God said, right? Especially in Genesis, as signs, right? To tell them what the timing was. And so they followed that. And there was a priestly order to their alignment. The calendar synchronized with the 24 priestly courses, the Mishmarot, creating cycles pointing to the eschatological fulfillment. Now, if you remember in the video I just did, talking about the priestly timeline, that's one of the reasons we can use the 24 priestly courses as a guide to when Christ was born, because we know that Zechariah was a priest who served in the temple. So none of these things are 100% absolutely proof positive, but put together, I think the majority of the evidence easily points to this. Okay, so the Qumran community viewed this solar calendar not merely as a timekeeping device, but as a heavenly calendar, revealed by God and reflective of the order of creation, right? Look at Genesis 1:14 to 18. Any deviation, such as the temple establishment's lunar system, represented cosmic disorder. Because this calendar was believed to reflect the timing of God's eternal plan, it became a tool for calculating the divinely appointed moment of messianic intervention. The calendar as a prophetic framework for messianic expectation. So several Qumran documents reveal that the community believed itself to be living in the last days, expecting the immediate and the imminent arrival of a priestly Messiah, right, from Aaron, a royal Messiah from David, and sometimes a prophetic Mosaic figure, right? And this goes into Deuteronomy 32 when we talk about a prophet who comes like Moses, right, to reinterpret and provide the access to the Torah, and that would definitely be Christ. So they were looking for this. Now they broke it up into this Aaron and Davidic Messiah, but they just didn't recognize that one person could fulfill all three roles. The Qumran calendar allowed them to calculate a specific window for these eschatological features and figures. Their reasoning was rooted in texts like Daniel 9, the 70 weeks, Jubilees, which is one of the apocryphal books, and it's not canonical, and there are some issues with Jubilees, so I would not say that it is scripture, but it provides some insight into how they thought, right? And like all the apocryphal books, I do suggest at least getting familiar with them so you understand what Second Temple, especially Second Temple period thought processes were like. And then First Enoch with its astronomical and calendrical revelations. Once again, not scripture, but they tell us how the people were thinking. And Enoch does point to a lot of scripture, so there is some basis for it. It is not, Enoch is not the same as any of the books written by an apostle or for the New Testament, or written by a prophet for the Old Testament. But it is certainly well worth understanding, because the New Testament writers, every one of them, in some way or other, allude to First Enoch with something that they're writing. So there's obviously some thought pattern there that the Second Temple people were working with. Because their 364-day solar calendar produced repeatable, fixed cycles, the community interpreted Daniel's chronology and other prophetic timelines in a highly mathematical way. This led them to identify the 1st century BC to the 1st century AD as a converging eschatological window, a period in which the Messiah must appear. And that was very close. If, once again, you take my videos, the last couple, where we're talking about 3 BC, September, right? 3 BC, Feast of Yom Teruah. That's very close to that window that the Qumranis were looking for. This is exactly the historical window in which Jesus of Nazareth was born, give or take a few years, right? And they weren't precise in the exact date, so we have some timing there. The calendar and astronomical portents. Reading the heavens. Many Qumran texts, especially their version of First Enoch and the astronomical book, connect the movements of the sun, the moon, the constellations, and the heavenly tablets to the unfolding of divine history. The community believed astronomy was not superstition but revelation, a way of discerning the divine order. This worldview aligns with the wider Second Temple cosmic signs tradition, where heavenly phenomena functioned as markers of divine intervention. And you can look at Joel 2:30-31 and Matthew 2:2 as evidence that this is a thought pattern predominant in the later period of the Judea. A key example often connected to this period, the sign of Virgo, the Virgin. Qumran interpreters and many ancient Jewish cosmologists believed constellations were symbolic markers embedded into creation. The alignment of the sun in Virgo, the moon at her feet, and the stars crowning her head was understood by some Second Temple readers as a sign of Messiah's birth, echoing imagery later seen in Revelation 12. So, once again, not that the Qumran community is scripture, and not that the apocryphal is scripture, but these same concepts keep reappearing in what we recognize as scripture. Such astronomical markers did occur in the period surrounding Jesus' birth, reinforcing the belief that this was the divinely appointed time. Then you have the Dead Sea calendar's alignment with Jesus' historical era. The extraordinary aspect of the Qumran chronological system is that it generated a non-symbolic, literal time block for the Messiah's arrival. This was not vague or open-ended. The prophetic cycles concluded in a narrow window. The priestly service cycles reinforced the same timing. Astronomical markers supported it visually and symbolically. This convergence placed the appointed time squarely in the 1st century AD, the very period of Jesus' birth, right? Give or take a few years, right? From a Messianic Jewish and divine council perspective, this alignment suggests Israel's faithful remnant, in their mind, the Qumran sect, right, was correct in expecting a soon coming Messiah. Their calendar preserved vestiges of a cosmic order that pointed to the birth of Jesus, and their anticipation forms part of God's broader orchestration of sacred history through both Scripture and heavens. So why this matters theologically? Well, you have Second Temple Jewish expectation. The Qumran community's calendar reinforces that the idea of a 1st century Messiah was not a Christian invention, but an indigenous Jewish expectation. The divine council worldview. The belief that signs in the heavens mark turning points in salvation history aligns with Genesis 1:14 and the notion that the heavenly host is involved in announcing God's actions on earth. And finally, the Messianic Jewish conclusion. The fact that the Dead Sea Scrolls calendar predicted the correct century aligned with Daniel's prophetic timeline, corresponding to astronomical signs, and matched the actual birth era of Jesus, suggesting the Qumran's community system was an authentic pointer towards God-appointed Messiah, Yeshua of Nazareth. So, a quick summary here. The Dead Sea Scrolls calendar was a mathematically precise solar-based system used by the Qumran community to interpret biblical prophecy and track divine patterns in creation. This calendar produced a specific and narrow time window for the Messiah's arrival, a window that falls precisely in the period of Jesus' birth. Its astronomical coincidences, alongside prophetic calculations, reflect a sophisticated Second Temple era expectation of messianic fulfillment. From a Messianic Jewish perspective, this calendar reinforces the conclusion that Jesus' arrival occurred at this exact moment anticipated by some of Judaism's most apocalyptic and priestly thinkers. All right, so I want to thank you this far. If you haven't done so, please think about liking, subscribing to the channel. It helps us a great deal. Like this video and share it with a friend. Also, if you look in the description, you'll find 2 links. One is to my Bible study platform, $10 a month. You get all of the videos and the transcripts so you can dig deeper into them. Excuse me. And we have lots of other videos not put on YouTube, built into courses that help you build your theological, right? Theology, the study of God, viewpoint. And the idea here is to allow you to do a lot of your own interpretation of stuff, not just rely on somebody else. We want you to dig deeper into the Bible. So let's do that. The other thing is, of course, the second link is to a discount you can get on Logos Bible software. They now offer, you don't have to spend a whole lot of money buying the complete package. You can do a subscription, which is relatively cost effective for most people. It goes anywhere from just a few dollars a month up to, $20, $30, $40 a month or more. You can choose what level you want to get at. But the idea is you get a small discount on it, so you might as well take that. It is the best Bible study software I'm aware of. It's what I've been using for over 25 years. I think it's really good. So look into that. We will be having in the Bible study platform courses on how to make the best use out of Logos and how to use it for your own Bible study. So look into that. And once again, thank you very much for your time and for being part of the community here. And when you join the Bible study platform, there's also a great community that you can join. It's built into it where you can ask questions. I'll answer all the questions I can for you as fully as possible. And you can talk to each other and you can tell us what you're thinking and how that appeals to you, because we want to get a lot of views on here. iron sharpens iron, right? So thank you very much.